Briar is, as of this video, Riot's latest champion release. She is pretty unique with her self-taunt mechanics, but these are really useful for us as Nami players. Let's take a look at what we can exploit to push her win rate even lower. Q is a targeted dash with pretty short range, but it is pretty fast and she can buffer movement during it, or even use W afterwards if need be. Therefore, you should not attempt to use bubble on Briar Q. Her W is her bread and butter. She will dash and then go berserk, gaining move speed and mindlessly attacking with a priority of champions, large monsters, and minions. She can change this priority by using Q on a different target, but aside from the fact that this is a dash that can potentially dodge bubble, we don't need to bubble differently. If she changes target in this manner, her new target will be obvious, but either way, if she tries to dodge bubble by using Q on a minion, then she stops her damage against champions, and broadly speaking, this means we don't need to use bubble. And the most important question is, how do we use her self-taunt against her? It removes most of her control, meaning she cannot just input a movement command to dodge bubble. If you use bubble in front of the target she's taunted against, then it will hit her. You can also exploit her movement, since she runs mindlessly at her target, and just have her walk into a bubble. Make sure to keep moving after the bubble hits, since bubble will not interrupt her berserking, and she'll keep coming once the sun wears off. Moving also just generally seems to be good against her, since you draw her further and further out of position, so try to make a habit of it. Her W lasts for 5 seconds unless she uses her E. Her E is a short channel and can be used to prematurely end her berserk status. If she fully channels it, it can also deal substantial damage, so this is a perfectly acceptable use of bubble. She can cancel E early and move to dodge it pretty easily, but then she's missing out on a lot of damage by ending W early, or not charging E. Her ult has 2 parts. The first part has her kick a large projectile with massive range, and when she does so, there is a global audio cue. This cast time is pretty lengthy, and while you can potentially land a near guaranteed bubble in response to the initial cast time, I would advise against it. It is only a good bubble if she doesn't hit anyone with the projectile, and you'll probably want to avoid the cast time of bubble so that you have more time to dodge her projectile, unless she's trying to ult away in your face, for example. If the projectile of certain death hits a champion, then she begins a 1.25 second cast time before dashing unstoppably to her target. Do not use bubble in this time, you cannot stop her from dashing, and it is a waste of a cooldown. You can semi-reliably bubble her on arrival with the target, but here's where things start to get weird. Reacting to certain death starts when you hear the audio cue, since you need to gauge how far she is to estimate how long it'll be before her dash reaches her target. When you hear the initial audio cue, count to 5. It has a range of 10,000 units and a speed of 2,000 units per second, which means that for each second we count after hearing the cue, she is roughly 2,000 units away. If her projectile lands, she enters the 1.25 second cast time, after which she will dash with a supposedly variable speed of 2,500 to 5,000 units, but testing did not indicate what exactly determines this. Her rank 1 ult and rank 3 ult see her travel at the same speed, and her time to arrive from a max range ult is a flat 2 seconds. Therefore, if I had to guess, it is only the short range ults that travel at a reduced speed, since the max range ult sees her dash 10,000 units in exactly 2 seconds. My best guess is that unless she is at short range, she will always dash at 5,000 units per second, which is where our estimate of her distance comes in. As an example, if we count 3 seconds before her ult lands, we can estimate she's about 6,000 units away. This means it'll take her just over a second to dash, so If we bubble just after Briar begins to dash, then the remaining second of travel time will coincide with the cast and travel time of bubble. We just need to estimate the 1.25 seconds before Briar starts dashing. For another example, let's say we count 5 seconds and thus estimate Briar is at more or less max range, which would have her travel for 2 seconds. We want to count the initial 1.25 second cast time and 1 second of her travel time before we bubble. So we go 1 elephant, 2 elephant, bubble. Additionally, while I've learned to not base timings around visuals since they can be skin dependent, there is a visual pulse on the marked target each second after being hit. Of note is the fact that the projectile applies a visual silence effect for 0.3 seconds. Note that you're not actually silenced, this is just a status effect to interrupt channels. I'm unsure how this works with tenacity, but given that CC has a minimum duration of 0.3 seconds, I think that it should be consistent even if you're doing this on an allied tank with a lot of tenacity, but don't quote me on that. If you watch for the silence to expire and bubble immediately, then it lands at the same time as Briar finishes the wind up on her dash. Simply estimate how long she will dash for and then bubble accordingly. As you can probably tell, this timing is very dependent on where she is, which can be an unknown. So your bubble will probably be slightly late and she'll be able to hit her target a bit, but that's the trade-off for reliability. In this medium range example, she's about 5,000 units away. I should have bubbled about 1 second after getting hit, but I was too slow. If you do see her and she's pretty close when she casts, then the travel time is going to be pretty short. In this example that we look at, she's about 1,000 units away and dashes in about 0.4 seconds, leading to the lower speed of 2,500 units per second. For such a short ult, we want to wait for just over half a second before we bubble, but unfortunately we have no good indicator of what this is since it is before the visual pulse at 1 second. Our best guess at this distance is to wait out the silence, wait a little bit more and then bubble, but that's obviously not an exact science. Oh, and lastly, if you're not the main target of Briar ult, she will fear you if you're within the circle around the target when she arrives. Make sure to bubble from more or less max range unless you're okay with tanking the fear. I hope this helps to lower her win rate back under 30%. Good luck out there and have a great week. There won't be another bubble video for a while. If you care, I'm pinning a comment you can check out, but I'd say to not expect one for about a month. Goodbye for now.